Not all the neighborhoods in Waterloo are created equal. And if you're a first-time homebuyer or relocating here, knowing where to look and more importantly, which ones to avoid could save you from a major regret. In this two-part series, I am ranking every single neighborhood that we have here in Waterloo from some of the most overlooked ones to some of the most absolute best ones. So you can make a confident decision when it's time for you to buy. Stay tuned and let's get right in. And just before we dive in, if you are planning to move to Waterloo or trying to figure out which neighborhoods that fits your needs and your budget at the same time, feel free to reach out. You can call me, text me, email me, or even schedule a Zoom call. All my contact info is right below in the description. I help first-time homebuyers and families just like you every single week. Now in this particular video, we will cover what I would consider the D, C, and B tier neighborhoods. Now, just to be clear, this is not about bashing any particular area of the town. Every neighborhood has its pros and the cons, but the reality is some areas have way more long-term upside than the others, whether it's about the school zones, lifestyles, the community feel, or even the resale value for that matter. So let's start at the bottom and work our way up when it comes to this neighborhood. First up, let's look at the D tier neighborhoods. And these are the areas where you will definitely, want to do more research. They are not necessarily bad neighborhoods, but let's just say they do come with some pretty big trade-offs for most first-time homebuyers and the families. Let's start with the University District, also known as the Northdale, which is my first neighborhood on the tier D. Now, this pocket basically surrounds both University of Waterloo and Laurier. You'll find a good mix of high-rise condos, older detached homes that are converted into the rentals, and small walk-up buildings, all basically packed between Columbia, King, and University Avenue. On the surface, if you were to drive by, it is very lively, it's walkable, and it's close to the transit. But here's the thing, it's almost entirely investor-owned. Over 80% of the properties here are rentals. The turnover is fairly high, and there is a constant construction, and the neighborhood, I would say, doesn't have that long-term family-friendly vibe that most buyers are looking for. I would say if you are an investor looking to buy, say, a student rental, sure, it can work. But if you are buying your first home or relocating with a family, I would say better to look elsewhere. Next is the lower pocket of Lakeshore North. Now, this area basically stretches from north of Weber to west of Northfield. Now, what you will find here is a good range of detached homes built between the 80s and the 2000s. And while some streets are kept fairly well, others feel somewhat disconnected and under-maintained if you were to drive by. If I were to talk about the schools in this area, they're average, but I would feel like you are a little bit away from the core shopping areas. It's not a terrible part, but for the most buyer I work with, especially the families, there are better options available at a similar price points here in Waterloo. Now, third one on this list, I have Albert and the Hickory Street corridor. This is right in between King Street and Columbia. Again, very close to both the universities we have in Waterloo. Most homes here are either rental or converted student properties. Older homes you're looking at from 50s to 80s, walk-ups and a few purpose-built student rentals. It's a very transient area, not a lot of long-term community feel that you want as a family. So unless you are buying purely as an income property, I would keep this pocket pretty much off your list. Now let's move into the C tier neighborhoods. These ones do offer really good affordability and space, but at the same time, they can come with some trade-offs. One of those trade-offs could be school zones, distance from some of the amenities, or simply the age of the homes. Still, I would say for the right buyer, these ones can make a lot of sense. First one on my list here is Ursville. Now, this is the one right on the far west edge of Waterloo, past Vista Hills and Clare Hills. You've got good newer builds, larger detached homes, and access to good nature trails around you, but it's fairly car dependent. You don't have much in the way of retail, schools, or transit nearby. It works great for the buyers who want peace and quiet and maybe more land, but it's not ideal, if you want good walkability or school options nearby. And that is the primary reason I put it under the C tier, because many families living in this neighborhood, they might argue it should have ended up on some of the higher tiers, but it's not because of the crime rate or the neighborhood dynamics, but simply the fact that this neighborhood overall is not that rich in amenity. And to access some of those amenities, you might have to drive to a distance. Now, next one on this list, I got Lincoln Heights. Now, what you're looking at, this one is right on the east of Conestoga Mall, and at the same time, you're very close to the highway. Most of the homes here are older. Think about bungalows, side splits, and semis built through, 50s to 80s. You'll find some great lot sizes here, but most of the homes will have some potential for renovation. It's a bit of a mixed bag as a neighborhood. Some streets are more owner-occupied, while others have more rental concentration. But, if you are a handy buyer or an investor looking for sweat equity, Lincoln Heights can be a good place to look into. And the last one on T tier is Westville. Where is it located? You're looking at southwest of Waterloo, just west of Fisher-Harmon Road. This neighborhood has a very suburban feel, mostly quiet streets, lots of detached homes, and mostly family-friendly neighborhood. Homes here, in terms of real estate, homes mostly built in 80s and the 90s, and many still have the original interiors. School rankings are average, but if you're looking for good balance between affordability and stability, and you don't mind putting in, a bit of a work overtime after moving in, I would say Westville can be a great place to look into. All right, so now we are getting into what I would call the value picks. Now, these are the B tier neighborhoods that offer a solid balance of value, livability, and the future growth potential. Now, these are the neighborhoods, they don't get talked about as much as Vista Hills or Laurelwood, but let me just tell you this, they do punch above their weight when it comes to the neighborhood quality. First up on my list here is Eastbridge. What you're looking at is a neighborhood located northeast of Waterloo. This neighborhood offers mostly detached homes built in the late 90s and early 2000s with very consistent curb appeal if you were to drive by. You've got quick access to the Rim Park on one hand, great trail systems that surrounds this neighborhood, and it's a short drive to the Conestoga Mall. Turnover is really low, schools are very solid, and the pride of ownership is very much noticeable. It's a great pick for families or first-time homebuyers who want that long-term peace of mind when they settle in a neighborhood. Next up on this tier, I have another great neighborhood called Columbia Forest. Now, this neighborhood sits just north of Vista Hills on one end and west of Earlsville. Most of the homes here were built in the 2000s. You'll find wide streets, larger lots, and very family-friendly vibe. The major plus of Columbia Forest is the fact that it feeds into the Laurel Heights Secondary School, which has a solid ranking on Fraser Institute and a very good reputation. So that's a big draw for families with high school age kids. I would say it's a great alternative to Laurelwood. Let's say if you're a family or a buyer who is priced out, but still you are looking for a similar lifestyle. And finally, let's talk about the Beechwoods. Now, there are three distinct pockets within the Beechwood. You're looking at Upper Beechwood, Beechwood West, and what's often called the Beechwood proper or Old Beechwood. Upper Beechwood is the most prestigious of all three of them. You will find large detached homes, quiet tree-lined streets, and kind of an upscale suburban feel if you were to be in this neighborhood. Very stable and very low turnover, just like any other great neighborhood. Beechwood West is slightly more affordable, but still very much family oriented with great access to schools and shopping around it. It has many of the same strengths, just with a bit of, more variety in terms of the real estate sizes and the styles. And finally, we have the Beechwood proper, which is the third pocket in this Beechwood area. And what you will find is a lot of charm and character in the homes and a very weather established community. Some of the pockets here even offer private club memberships with pools and tennis courts. Now, all the three pockets in Beechwood are excellent for move-up buyers or those families who are looking for that long-term home in a rather quiet and very well-established part of the city. So those are my rankings for the D, C, and B tier neighborhoods here in Waterloo. If you are buying your first home or relocating from out of town, I hope this helped give you a more realistic picture of which areas might suit your needs, but at the same time, which ones to approach with a little bit more caution. In the next video, we are going to look at the A and S tier neighborhoods. Now, these are the most sought after communities in all of Waterloo. So make sure you are subscribed if you want to catch that. And if you are seriously looking to move and need help figuring out which neighborhood makes most sense for your lifestyle and your budget, feel free to reach out. All my contact info is right below. I'll be more than happy to help you make a smooth move in and around Waterloo. Until next time, I will continue to show you around the town.